What is essential is invisible to the eye. You've probably heard this line before.
Yeah, where's it from?
A tiny book about a tiny prince from a tiny planet. The Little Prince.
Wait, isn't that a children's book?
That's what everyone thinks, but it's not for children. It's for grown-ups who forgot how to see.
Forgot how to see? What do you mean?
The author was Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, a French pilot. He actually crashed in the Sahara Desert in real life.
Wait, for real? He crashed in the desert?
Yes, and that experience became this story. A pilot alone in the desert meets a boy from the stars. Published in 1943, translated into over 300 languages.
300 languages? That's incredible.
And that famous line? A fox says it near the end. But you won't feel it until you hear the whole story. So let's hear it, from the very first drawing to the very last star.
When he was 6, the pilot saw a picture in a book. It showed a snake swallowing an animal whole. So he drew his own picture, a snake that ate an elephant. He showed it to the grown-ups. They all said the same thing. "That's a hat!" "No," he said, "it's a snake with an elephant inside." But no one understood, not a single grown-up. So he stopped drawing, and he stopped imagining. Years later, his plane crashed in the Sahara Desert. No water, no people, just sand in every direction. That first night, he slept alone on the sand. In the morning, a small voice woke him up. "Please draw me a sheep." A little boy with golden hair and a long yellow scarf. The pilot tried 3 times. The boy said no each time. So the pilot drew a box. "Your sheep is inside," he said. The little prince smiled. "That is exactly what I wanted." The little prince came from a very small planet. It was no bigger than a house. They called it asteroid B612. Every morning, he pulled out the baby baobab trees. If he forgot, their roots would crack his planet apart. But his favorite thing was watching the sunset. On his tiny planet, he just moved his chair a few steps. "One day, I watched the sunset 44 times, he said. "You must have been very sad," the pilot replied. One day, a flower appeared on his planet, a single rose. She was beautiful, but she was also very proud. She coughed and asked for a glass cover to keep warm. She said tigers might come. There were no tigers. The prince watered her and covered her every night. But her lies and her pride wore him out. So he decided to leave, to see what else was out there. On the day he left, the rose finally told the truth. "I was silly," she said. "I love you. Be happy." The prince visited 6 small planets before Earth. On the first, a king sat alone, giving orders to no one. On the second, a vain man wanted nothing but applause. "Clap for me," he said. "I am the most wonderful." On the third, a man drank to forget his shame. On the fourth, a businessman counted stars and claimed to own them. "What good does that do the stars?" the prince asked. On the fifth, a lamplighter turned his lamp on and off. And on the sixth, a geographer wrote about places he never visited. "Grown-ups are very strange," the little prince said to himself. The prince arrived on Earth in the middle of a desert. The first creature he met was a golden snake. "Where are all the people?" the prince asked. "You can be lonely even with people around," the snake said. Then the snake made a strange promise. "If you ever want to go home, come find me. I can send anyone back to where they came from." Then the prince found a garden full of roses. 5,000 roses, all looking just like his. He sat down in the grass and cried. His rose had told him she was the only one in the world, and he had believed her. I thought I was rich, he said, but I only have an ordinary flower. He lay face down in the grass and wept. That is when the fox appeared. Come play with me, the prince said. I cannot, said the fox. I am not tamed. What does tame mean? Asked the prince. It means to create a bond, the fox said. Right now, you are just a boy like 1,000 other boys. But if you tame me, we will need each other. So the prince came back every day, at the same time. And slowly, they became friends. But soon, the prince had to leave. When they said goodbye, the fox began to cry. I knew this would hurt, the fox said. But I gained something, the color of the wheat. Your hair is golden. The wheat will remind me of you. Then the fox told him a secret. Here is my secret. It is very simple. What is essential is invisible to the eye. You can only see clearly with your heart. The prince repeated the words. He would never forget them. Back in the desert, the pilot and the prince walked together. They had no water left. They walked all night. Under the stars, through the cold sand. At sunrise, they found a well. The prince drank and smiled. This water is sweet, he said. It is sweet because we walked under the stars to find it. One evening, the prince went looking for the snake. He had decided he would go home to his rose. My body is too heavy, he told the pilot. I cannot take it with me. Don't be sad. Look up at the stars tonight. One of them will be mine, and I will be laughing. So all the stars will seem to laugh for you. The snake bit his ankle. The prince fell softly, without a sound. The next morning, the prince's body was gone. The pilot looked up at the sky. The stars were all shining, 500 million of them. And somewhere on one small star, a little boy was smiling, taking care of a single rose. The pilot smiled and listened to the stars laughing. He never stopped listening.
That was wow.
I can't stop thinking about the ending.
I know. Let's go back to the very beginning. A boy draws a snake swallowing an elephant.
Swallowing, that means eating it whole?
Yes, in one big gulp, but every adult sees one thing. A hat, and that's the whole book in one drawing. And years later, the pilot crashes in the desert. A voice says, "Please, draw me a sheep."
That part gave me chills.
And here's what's beautiful. The prince liked the box, because the real sheep was inside, invisible.
But where did the prince come from?
A tiny asteroid, smaller than a house.
Asteroid, like a rock in space?
Yes, a small world floating through space, just him. And he watched 44 sunsets in one day.
44. That's a lot of sadness.
Now let's talk about the rose. She was beautiful, but she lied about everything.
Why would she lie?
Because she was afraid he would leave. So she pretended to be tough, but inside she was fragile.
So she pushed him away because she loved him?
Exactly, and he left because he didn't understand yet. Then the prince visits 6 adults on 6 planets. A vain man who wants nothing but applause.
Vain, is that the same as proud?
No, proud can be good. Vain is always empty.
I know some vain people.
Don't look at me.
They all forgot what matters, but we'll get to that. On Earth, the prince meets a snake first. The snake says, "I can send you home."
How? What does the snake do?
You'll find out, but it's not what you'd expect.
That sounds scary.
Then the prince finds a garden of roses. 5,000, all just like his.
Oh no, he thought his was the only one.
He lies in the grass and cries.
So his rose was ordinary all along?
That's what he thinks, but he's wrong. And the fox is about to show him why. The fox says something strange. Please tame me.
Tame? Like, control an animal?
No, the opposite. Tame here means to build a bond. Before you tame someone, they're just one of thousands. After, they're the only one in the world.
So it's like making someone special to you?
Yes, by spending time, by showing up every single day. But the most important part, that comes next.
What is it?
The fox tells him a secret before they part. What is essential is invisible to the eye.
Essential? What does that mean exactly?
The most important thing, what truly matters. You can't see it, you can only feel it with your heart.
So the prince's rose is special.
Yes, because he watered her, he listened to her.
She became special because he loved her, not because she was rare.
And then in the desert they find water. The prince says it's sweet because they walked all night.
So the walk made the water special?
Yes, the ordinary water became something precious. Same water, but the stars and the cold changed it.
Just like the rose, it's the time you give.
Imagine this, someone you love says goodbye. Not for a week, not for a year, forever. And they say, don't cry, just look at the stars.
That's what the prince told the pilot.
When you look up, all the stars will laugh for you. He's not really gone. He's just somewhere you can't see.
So his goodbye was actually a gift.
The gift of 500 million laughing stars. He fell softly, like a tree, without a sound.
Why without a sound? That detail stays with me.
Because the prince whispered all his goodbyes before.
Whispered? Said it so softly only the heart could hear?
Now you're seeing with your heart. Remember how we started? What is essential is invisible to the eye. Before today, it was just a famous quote.
Not anymore. Now I hear it differently.
A fox said it to a boy who was about to lose everything. And yet the boy smiled, because love doesn't disappear.
We all have a rose somewhere. Something we tamed.
On a tiny asteroid, a boy is still taking care of his. Have you ever lost something you loved? Tell us. See you next time. And tonight, look up at the stars.